Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you if you are an entrepreneur. Page, stage come together in entrepreneurship. Had you thought about that before? Maybe not. You've probably got, well, you might have a solo book out, you might have a contributory book out. If you're an entrepreneur, haven't you got socials? Well, what's that if it's not published work? Yay, go you. You've ticked that box. What about the speaking thing? A lot of people say to me, oh, I'm shy, I'm an introvert, I can't possibly do this public speaking thing. And I go, can you have a one-on-one conversation with somebody? Yeah. Well, then you can do a podcast. This is a stage. Oh. So if you find yourself going, I can't do public speaking, and you've got something you want to share, I'm here, page to stage. Let's have you on the show as well. Okay, now, this is a really exciting episode for me. I have the joy and pleasure of reintroducing you to Carol Vincie. Now, Carol came on the show last year, but this year it's even betterer. She's about to launch in October. Well, do you know what? I'll let Carol tell you more about it because she knows far more about it than I do. Carol, give us a little introduction to you and why this one book and two next month, October 2025, is so important to you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. The thing that I hid for decades and decades and decades was being ADD, attention deficit disorder. Now, I'm old. I'm 80. And when I went to grammar school, nobody even knew anything about the term. I'm also dyslexic, which is a common combination. 50% of the people with ADD or ADHD are also dyslexic because those functions use the same part of our brain, the frontal cortex. However, one of the powers and strengths that I talk about is persistence and high energy. And I never let it stop me. So I describe myself as a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business at 16, and that was quite unusual at that time. We didn't have all the internet services that now make it easy for the kids to make. I saw an article, twice the minimum wage with their online systems on Instagram or YouTube. My dad didn't think I had the intellectual capacity to go to college, so I had to pay my own tuition. So I taught piano lessons from junior and high school through college. I'm trained as a classical pianist, and coincidentally, the exercise that goes with playing the piano, and a lot of people don't think about that, was one of the ways that I managed my ADD symptoms so that they were less impactful. And I had an extremely successful corporate career.
Not playing the piano, though.
Not playing the piano, no. No, I auditioned for Juilliard when I was heading to high school.
Right.
And, my piano teacher whispered to my mom, she really doesn't have the talent. So I had a certain level of skill. I played for my college classes shows, which were annually, and I was the accompanist for the college glee club for 4 years and would do solo performances in each of the holiday concerts. So, I mean, I was, there's a difference between having a skill as a natural skill. I talk about natural athletes. All the practice in the world isn't going to get you to the level that they just come to the table with. But, I paid for my college. I didn't have any debt. And I had a little bit in my savings account that, was a good start for my corporate career.
So tell us, what did you do in your corporate career?
I worked for IBM for 25 years.
Right. Oh, woman in computers in those days?
Yes, yes.
Whoa.
I know. And the typical jobs at that point were administration, and with my dyslexia, that would have been a disaster.
Yes.
And also software writing code. And I joke that if I wrote 3 lines of code, I'd bring every computer in the country to its knees. So I can actually share this now. When we had coding programs in our training class, I had to borrow from my study group. So I plagiarized. I never wrote a complete program on my own. But it served me well because my skill, again, and I'm pointing this out so that people can think about career choices and not be routed into some low function job.
Yeah.
Business strategy is my strength. And I get energized even now when I work with a client to do business strategy for them, as opposed to it being exhausting and my leaving, oh my God, that's so tiring. I am energized. And if I do it late in the afternoon or evening, I have trouble going to sleep because I'm so energized by that process. And that's what I was able to do, both when I was still in technical support and then when IBM thought it was probably okay for us to risk having women in sales. So I was the first female sales rep in my office. I was the first female sales manager and the highest ranking woman on the Poughkeepsie plant site when there were 15,000 employees.
Whoa.
So, and that's
Whoa.
for somebody who tended not to fit into the corporate mold of follow direction. The thing that I was, again, by instinct, able to pick people to work for who would tolerate my behavior. Trust me that I had the skills and that I was smart enough that when I was stuck, that I would ask for help. But in the meantime, you know, get the hell
And
out of
here
the
you
way.
are.
Get the
And
hell
here,
out of
here you are, somebody who was told that they wouldn't even get to college.
Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yes.
So tell me, are you somebody who patterns jump out at you?
Um, the way I describe it is I can connect the dots before my colleagues can even figure out what the dots are. And I'm halfway to a solution while they're still figuring out, you know, what the devil's going on.
Right.
And so when people would say, you know, this can't be done, I jump in, raise my hand and say, watch me.
Well, you've had that right from the start, haven't you? Your dad told you couldn't do it. You go, just watch me.
Yep. And you know, that's the thing that, you know, people say, well, you know, we procrastinate. But if the activities are novel, unique, or challenging, that's what we feast on. We thrive at those types of activities because it gets all of that creativeness and vision and determination going. You know, we're not interested in the dull, boring, repetitive activities. Like when I had my corporate job, I was also a downhill skier, which is also good for ADD, which I never knew, but I was passionate about it. I wouldn't let myself go skiing in January until I turned all my tax work over to my accountant because I knew it would take forever, but with that motivation. So, you know, if you're, you know, a parent or a teacher trying to figure out how to deal with one of us rambunctious kids, you know, think of motivation.
Find something that they will really go towards. Yes.
Yes. So, you know, being on the ski slopes is my goal, and therefore getting the tax work turned over to let somebody else take care of it was the motivation that I needed because you know, and the other thing in the Northeast, going skiing in January when it was bitter cold wasn't so much of a sacrifice. It was much more fun in March and April. But that's how, you know, I put something in place that said, these are the rules.
Yes.
And structure helps us, which a lot of people say, no, I can't stand structure. But structure actually does help us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And
So
as you
from
say, it's the executive functioning, it's that front part of the brain which is going,
yeah,
not quite computing. Yeah.
Science has proven, because there are still some people that you're just lazy, crazy, or stupid. And science has proven that our brains don't secrete enough dopamine.
Right.
And dopamine is the motivational
Yep.
substance in our systems that keeps us going.
Yes.
So, that's why when I said the physical activity of playing the piano secretes dopamine, and
Yes.
therefore, the impact of some of the symptoms wasn't as obvious.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because I mean, all the research up until about 20 years ago was done on the male
Oh,
brain.
still today, absolutely still today.
Yeah. I mean,
That
you
is,
add the joys of, and the female brain, excuse me, audience, just a little aside if you didn't know this, my background is in speech pathology, focusing on adults with intellectual disability, with or without autism. Most of them were with on the spectrum. In girls, the brain corpus callosum, the bit between the two hemispheres, is far more connected than it is in the fellas, which is why the fellas generally compartmentalize things really well, but don't use both sides of the brain. Now, us dear women, we're much more flexible in that way. So the social side has often been masked in girls because they're a bit of a fidget, or but they still are more socially aware generally, but of course everybody is different, than the fellas. Now, hit 13 or round about that, and you throw the hormones into the mix,
yes.
and the scientists go, oh, let's just focus on the male brain. We only have testosterone to deal with,
Yeah,
which is
we don't want to. They keep saying we don't understand the female hormones. So we can't take time to study that, which
you
is
tell us we don't
silly.
understand the female hormones and we're living with them.
Yes, exactly. So I encourage people who are research types, which I am not, to think about that as a project because the world needs you and is waiting for some
Yeah.
equal treatment of the condition, which is, by the way, a lead in for my
This
book that's
book,
about to be
yay.
announced next month. It's called A Parent's Guide to Supporting Your ADD ADHD Daughter.
Excellent. Excellent.
And the reason for that is we sit in class, we're ideal students in the teacher's eye, we're quiet, we turn in our homework on time, while we're sitting there daydreaming and contemplating how we're going to kill ourselves, which is a tragedy, at least in the United States.
Yes.
The suicide rate among females between 12 and 20 is just absolutely out of control. I'm not a parent, but I couldn't imagine being a parent and finding your child dead in their room
Yeah.
because of, they've killed themselves. That's a horror. So and people say, well, why not men? Well, the studies have all focused on 12-year-old boys
Mhm.
because they're disruptive in the classroom.
Yes.
So, they're off to the principal's office. Parents get called because, they were so disruptive, where we just sit there quietly. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
there's a lot going on. And
Yeah.
people have said to me, while I'm not hyper, I mean, I can stand in this position forever. My brain never stops. And that's where, the ADD and the creativity goes on all the time.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very anxious to have this out. It's been
Mm.
a labor of love. And when I was 3/4 of the way through, I said to myself, this is a document I wish somebody in my life had when I was a child.
Yes. Yeah.
And for people who say, well, my kids are grown, I don't never had a daughter, you can parent yourself.
Yes.
Because it was a very interesting exercise for me to go back and look back at my life as I wrote the book, to come up with,
Mm.
remember incidents or come up with material that would be appropriate for different stages. I
Yes.
start with early indicators as a toddler or when I was still in my crib. My mother
Mhm.
told the story of I would stand in the crib before I could form a full sentence and bang on the railing saying, I cry more, because I was done with this boring activity of sleep and I was ready to engage with the world. at 5:30 in the morning, and she still wanted another hour and a half of sleep. So not all ADD or ADHD people are night owls. That tends to be more typical to be night owls, but there are some of us that wake up at the crack of dawn when, even sometimes throughout the seasons, even when the sun isn't up at that hour. So,
I know that blackout blinds were really important for the folks that I worked with. I lived in the north of Scotland for 20 odd years, and when the sun is up at 3 in the morning in the full summer, no, we've got to have blackout blinds here because these guys are awake with the light and they've only had 3 hours sleep. Really. And they needed more, but
Yep.
because the light was around, up they went.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway,
So this book is coming out in October 2025. Why the significance of October? Tell us more about that.
in the US, October is ADHD Awareness Month.
Right.
So I wanted to take advantage of that national publicity to get more exposure recognition to just the document. And I'm doing some face-to-face sessions in bookstores, and I'm
Great.
scheduling some Zoom sessions. So if anybody
Cool.
is interested in having me cover a little more, you can reach out to Wendy through the contact information she'll supply.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your book is going to be not only available through Amazon, it's going to be available through bookstores as well.
Yes, I have a couple of bookstores already who've said that they would carry it. I'm
Excellent.
also working on getting it recorded.
Good.
Because when I said dyslexia, some dyslexics have trouble reading.
Of
And
course.
even though it's a short book, having it recorded will
Yes.
reach more people.
Absolutely.
So that's pending. I don't have a release date for that yet, but I've identified somebody who can do an excellent job.
Somebody else is narrating it, not you.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Audience, if you don't already know, audiobooks are very big business. However, it's not such an easy task as you may think. You don't start at the beginning of your book and read it all the way through and record, because your voice changes character during the day. And the bots at Audible or wherever, it is the bots that do the quality control. So they require you to record same time of day, under the same acoustics, under the same level of hydration. So if you have a 400-page chapter, 400-page book, it's going to take you rather a long time, because if they pick up on any quality differences, it'll be a case of and sending it back.
Yes. That's why I was introduced to somebody who has a sound studio that is built on a platform that doesn't even respond to vibration when traffic comes by.
Wonderful.
And also people who have, and they already did a demo for me. And so they found somebody who can express the passion, because that was my concern. Now, this is not a 400-page book, just we don't want to scare people away. This is a simple book, 15 chapters, 2 pages a chapter. And the idea is to just point out things that happen as you mature through your life. So I talked about early indicators. I talked about the fact that you mentioned puberty. If you're going through puberty as a woman and on medications, there will be 2 weeks a month that you will be more productive. So I point that out, that if you've got critical assignments to do, figure out when those 2 weeks are and try to get permission to turn your assignment in during that period, or just schedule yourself that way. The other thing that disappoints a lot of women as we start through menopause is if you've never had symptoms, as you go through menopause, it may occur for the first time. And if you already have symptoms, they will get worse. And the reason for that is the chemical change in your body gobbles up that limited amount of supply of dopamine.
Yes.
So people have, do you want to throw a tomato right now? It's not bad enough that you got night sweats and you can't sleep and, you're gaining weight. for the first time ever, right? You have to add that to the equation.
God bless
And
our
most
hormones.
doctors don't know.
Yes,
Most doctors will not be aware of that. And you're
yes.
going, but I'm going crazy. You know, you're not crazy. It is, in fact, real.
Dear old menopause. Yes.
Yes.
Menopause
Yes.
with knobs on. Oh, so this book is coming out in October. We don't quite have a date for publication yet. Am I right in that?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Audience, what we'll do is this, we will make sure that the show notes are updated because Carol's going to ping me and go, oh, we're live. And we will update the show notes. So keep an eye on them. I will also do a ping on the socials to go, whoa,
Yep,
here's
it's
Carol's
now
book.
time. Trust me, as soon as it's going through proofreading right now. So as soon as it's available, you probably will hear me shouting, even in Australia.
Yeah, I'm in
From New
Mexico at
York.
the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the fact that October in the US is ADHD, ADD Awareness Month. I don't know whether it is only the US, and therefore that's where you're getting a lot of awareness, a lot of publicity.
exposure, yes.
Yeah. Wherever you happen to be in the world, audience, this is for you, because as Carol has intimated, and you may have seen it in the press, there are an awful lot of women 30 plus who are now being diagnosed with ADHD in particular, and they're going, finally, my life makes sense.
Exactly. Well,
So
there are a
this is a
couple of
really hot
triggers
topic.
for it. Either, the signs show early
Yeah.
when you get married or have a child, when you get a significant promotion,
Yes.
can trigger it. But the average age in the US that women get diagnosed is 39. And that's typically when they take their children for treatment. They're sitting on the other side of the desk from the doctor or therapist, and they're sitting there going, oh, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
And that's, in fact, how I got a label for mine.
Right.
I was at a seminar. I was on somebody's mailing list who was one of the presenters. And I said, well, let me go listen to what he has to say. Well, there were 3 male presenters, and it was actually the doctor who was the one that I sat there going, that's me, that's me, that's me.
Yeah.
And even when I had a label for it, it took me 5 years to even whisper to a close friend that I had the condition.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of shame with what we can't do. I mean, why can't you keep your house organized? Why did you forget to pick up your kid at school? I mean, how can you be so that?
And
And
there's also the issue of, I don't know whether how much sensory issues affect you, but the guys that I worked with couldn't handle lots and lots of noise from outside, yet they themselves were as noisy as hell. I mean, they'd have their music on loud and yet, I thought you didn't like music. It's only when it's outside and I'm not in control. I can turn my volume down. I can't turn that volume down.
yes, and some people need background music.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I'll get this to you when I'm finished with it. I'm doing a free webinar. And I've listed, I think, 5 or 6 classical pieces of music, the old timers, Bach, Handel, Vivaldi, Tchaikovsky, that are actually helpful to calm the brain. And I've suggested in this webinar that I'm doing that parents, without announcing it, just try playing that on Alexis or whatever your equivalent device is that supports, sound in the house, and just seeing if it makes a difference in your child's ability to stay focused or stay calm. Don't announce it, because then you're going to get, well, that's old, right?
That's so
But
old.
there's something about the fact that that music is very structured
Yes.
that provides a calming effect.
Yeah. Particularly the old Brock stuff, as you were saying, sort of the Bach, the Handel, the Mozart. I'm interested that Tchaikovsky and Vivaldi obviously in that same period, but the Tchaikovsky as well. That's cute. I'm interested
It's
in
a
that.
piano concerto.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes.
You know, I haven't done the research. I've, you know, obviously to work with this, I've done an awful lot of research, and that's the
Yes.
recommendations from the people who have had the resources to do the studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I now have the chike start going. I'll be in that with an earworm. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, audience, a little bit of background on me. I'm a classically trained musician, but not in the piano and the flute. So yes, I've played in a few concertos. Wonderful. So we've got this book coming out in October. We've got ADHD ADD Awareness Month in October 2025, because this podcast will be up forever after. You're going to share with me as soon as we've got links. You've got the webinar already organized, have you?
No, I'm just creating it. I was focusing on the book until I was, you know,
Sure.
finished all my responsibilities for that.
Yes.
Now it's in the hands of the publisher. So,
Proofreading is so essential.
oh yeah.
So essential. My next book is coming out this month as well, in September. But yes, how many times have I read it and still something comes up and I've gone, oh, how
Yep.
did I miss that one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, once you've created it, you almost are seeing it in your mind as opposed to reading it from the page, which is the
Well,
challenge.
you're reading what you think is there.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, how exciting, Carol. I'm really, really chuffed that we've had this conversation today. Audience, isn't this lovely lady fantastic? At your, forgive me, reminding everyone, at 80, she's sharing a life that's been tough because of a diagnosis that came way down the track. But suddenly life made more sense. Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your From Page to Stage Part 2.
Thank you for the invitation, Wendy. I've always enjoyed these sessions with you.
Thank you. For now, then, bye from us.